If there is a story we like to hear and the story we like to share, it's a story about love. Unless you have bad experience of love, you won't tell your story about love. But that is the most, I believe, interesting story to hear and talk about. If you've been paying attention to the readings, what we have been hearing is the story of love. But the story of love that God has shown to His beloved ones. We begin with the love. Because of love, God created the world. And He created man according to His image and likeness. Because of love, God called Abraham to be part of His plan. And Abraham learned from God what it means to love by offering his son Isaac. It was a proof of his love. Because of love, God delivered His chosen people from slavery in Egypt. Because of love, even if people turn away from God, God took these people back to Himself. And because love is all that matters, we hear from St. Paul saying, in order for us to live in love, you must die to sin. Because sin is the opposite of love. When we die to sin, then we live in love. Because to live in love means to live in Jesus and with Jesus. And because of love, Jesus died on the cross. But also because of love, Jesus came back to life. The empty tomb that the women witnessed was a proof that indeed Jesus lived again. But there were striking words that came from the angel. When the angel told the women, "Do not be afraid." What not to be afraid? Not to be afraid to love. Not to be afraid to be loved. Because love is all that matters. I recall Saint Augustine when he said, "Love and do everything." It means that it is love that will really make the difference. If we are able to bear everything in life, it is because we care, because we love. In fact, that is what we learn from Jesus' passion, death, resurrection. The main reason why He lived among us, He died for us, and He lived again for us. And what is the message? The message for us is to be transformed by love. If there is anything that can truly change the person or can transform the person, it is the love that the person experiences. In fact, if people are broken, it's because people have been deprived of love. We see that among those who are growing in an environment where there is so much violence. There is absence of love. They become violent themselves. however, place them in an environment where there is love, they get healed. Their brokenness is healed, and they become loving people. And I believe that is the message. The message that Jesus has revealed to us. The message that we all have to proclaim. So, not to be afraid, because first, we have been loved. We have been loved first by God. And this love is the only one that can truly make us into His own image and likeness. There is so much brokenness that we see around. But this brokenness that we see around is a result of the absence of love. If we want to bring Jesus back, if we want people to experience Jesus, the only way is to be alive in love. We have to be loving people. We have to be caring people. If we are not loving enough, I don't think there is a good news we can proclaim. And there are many ways by which we can proclaim the good news, which is love. Very simple. And there are many ways by which we can do it. How to do it? It is just to give a simple act of kindness to people. Perhaps a simple smile to a lonely face will be enough to cheer up somebody who is down. May be enough to say an encouraging word to someone who may be wondering. May be enough. It's no big deal to show expression of love. It's no big deal. If there is difficulty in us in showing love or delivering a message of love, perhaps because there may be something deep within us that holds us back. I'm not sure if I can get a return of smile if I give a smile. I'm not sure if I can get a return of kindness if I show kindness. There is always that fear in us to show something that we are afraid we will not be able to get from someone whom we are showing acts of love. But isn't it? This is what Jesus did to us. He never expected us to show love in return. No, He never. He just gave it. And the kind of love that He gave us is unconditional. Puts no condition. Perhaps that's the reason why we are so inhibited to show acts of love. Because we are afraid. And that's why I underline the words that the angel uttered to the women. Do not be afraid. What is that fear that we have in us that prevent us from reaching out? What is that fear in us that does not make us to muster enough courage to love? What is it? What is that fear? Perhaps we are still in our own tomb. We are clinging to our tomb and we do not want to get out of it. We just stay there. Perhaps because it has become our comfort zone. For people who are afraid, the tomb can be a comfort zone. Stay there. You can stay there. That's why we call it rest in peace. Because you are in the tomb. But being in a tomb cannot be a resting place. Because if the tomb is the resting place, then Jesus should have not resurrected. He could have stayed there. He could have stayed there. Just like Lazarus, he could have stayed in the tomb. It's a comfortable place. It's my comfort zone. I would rather stay there. But Jesus resurrected from the tomb. That's why it's empty tomb. It's not a place to rest. Yes, you take a rest, but only for a nap. It's like taking a siesta, but for a while. Don't stay there for long. So when you take a siesta, that is like being in a cemetery, resting place. But you can never be at peace there. Because true peace is when you resurrect from your own tomb and go on with your life. That is what the resurrection is telling us. Go on with your life. Get out of your tomb, because that is not the place where God wants you to be. That is not the place God wants you to stay. God wants you to empty your tomb and proclaim to the world that you are alive again. There is nothing to fear about, because Jesus has overcome the world.